Sir has just joined, so we are going to start the program now. A very warm good evening and welcome to the second lecture of the Guruvani series. I, on behalf of the Department of English, today on this auspicious occasion, would like to welcome Dr. Vishnu Charandas, a renowned professor in the Assam University Diphu campus, Dr. Deepa Borbora, HOD, Department of English, HPP Girls College, Dr. Dibojyoti Bora, Assistant Professor, HPP Girls College, Dr. Santulan Mahanta, Assistant Professor, HPP Girls College, Akash Jyoti Sharma, Assistant Professor, HPP Girls College, and to you all the participants. Today, we would like to mark it and we would like to take it as a pride to have, and we are really honored to have in our midst today, Dr. Das, who is a renowned professor, as I have already mentioned. Without much further ado, I would like to mention a few lines about Dr. Das. Sir has a brilliant and an outstanding career, which some of the things which I would like to mention that he has a publication such as Dynamics of Subaltern Consciousness, a Critical Perspective, Negotiating Subaltern Consciousness, a Northeast Perspective, Ananta Sukla, as we know him, among many others. Besides this, Sir have also published more than 100 research papers in his recently. So with this short introduction, let me say that we are really honored to have today thus in our midst. And before we proceed to the lecture, we would also like to mention a few things, describe a few things about the Guruvani series. Guruvani series is a lecture series, and it is an in of English, HPB Girls College. It is a platform where in various invited speakers and renowned speakers will be speaking on and have already spoken and will be speaking on issues, themes and prospects and challenges, etc., ranging from literature, culture and society. As of now, it is an online mode, but when situation permits and situation subsides, we will also be heading towards an offline mode. So we seek your blessing and we pray and we hope that we can continue this continue this Guruvani series lecture. So without delaying much, I would like to welcome sir once again, and now it is over to Das sir. Sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rangpur. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, you're audible, but video is not coming, sir.
Yeah, dear colleagues of HPP Girls College and dear participants, a very good evening to all of you. My dear student, Mr. Mangal Rangpur, has invited me to deliver a, I should not call it lecture, but to have an active participation as a teacher, because the very title is Guruvani, the speech of a guru. And for your information, my dear students and colleagues, I have been here in Assam as a guru. I've been a teacher for the last 33 years, and I have immense pleasure to address to the students of English major of Diphu University. I think some of my students have also joined. I see their faces, and I'm very, very happy to speak a few words on Kalidas's ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM, which is prescribed in syllabus. In syllabus of all the universities. I have taught it in my university also, and Mr. Rangpur was my student and he has also learnt it from me. And without further delay, let me enter the vast world of Kalidasa, who was a peerless gem out of the 9 gems in the court of Vikramaditya of Ujjaini in classical India. This is my first point. I have raised, my dear students, Kalidas was a peerless gem in the court of Vikramaditya, and obviously in his poetry and drama, he is rightly called the Shakespeare of India, because like Shakespeare, he wrote plays as well as poetry, and we shall go for comparison later on, but let me introduce Kalidas's poetic sensibility and dramatic genius. He was equally powerful as a poet and a dramatist. And as a poet, he wrote epics, what we call in Sanskrit Mahakavya. And among his Mahakavyas, we may refer to Kumara Sambhavam, the birth of Lord Kartikeya, the son of Siva. That is called Kumara. In Sanskrit, Kartikeya, the eldest son of Lord Siva, is called Kumara. And how Kumara was born, that is the epic Kumara Sambhava deals with. Then we come to Raghuvansam, that is the dynasty of Raghu, to which Rama and Sita do belong. And the story of Rama and Sita and Rama's fight with Ravan, and that is Raghuvansam. And we have also one beautiful poem under the title Meghadutam, where Kalidasa personifies nature and makes the clouds as messenger. Therefore, it has been translated into English as the cloud messenger, Meghadutam. And so these three are classics, and Meghadutam is a wonderful love poem. And it is said that when it was translated, the Western romantic poets like Shelley and Keats were profoundly influenced by Kalidasa's Meghadutam. And you can have a brilliant juxtaposition and correlation of Meghadutam, the cloud messenger, with the romantic poet P.B. Shelley's Ode to West Wind, which is prescribed for our students in second semester. And there Shelley has made the wind a messenger, but here the love-learned protagonist of the poet, Jakya, has sent a message to his wife, a message of separation, of emotional dexterity and tears through the clouds. This is how nature has become the viaticum in Kalidasa's poetry as well as drama. This is his gamut of poetry, and the last one is Rutu Sangharam, a pageant of 6 seasons. There are 6 seasons in India, though there are 4 in the Western world, and Kalidasa writes with due respect to seasons. He wrote a beautiful poem under the title Rutu Sanghara. Samhara means combination. So a pageant of seasons. So this is his poetic gamut. And then we come to the dramatic hour, which consists of 3 important plays. Malavika Agnimitram. Malavika is the heroine, Agnimitra is the hero. And then we have Vikrama Urbasiyam, Urbasi, that celestial nymph of heaven, and Vikram, and that is a beautiful romantic story. And last but not the least is Abhijnana Shakuntalam. Why it is called Abhijnana Shakuntalam, my dear students? Sometimes you may have a short question also, a short note also, justify the title of the play Abhijnana Shakuntalam. Why it is called Shakuntalam? Because it is related to Shakuntala, the heroine of the play, the wife of Dushyanta and the daughter of the sage Kanva. In fact, she was not the daughter of Kanva. I'll come to this. Let me clarify the title first. So at the very first side, what catches our attention is the combination of 2 words, Abhijnana, Abhi Upasarga Jnana, and Abhijan Upasarga. And Shakuntalam means in Sanskrit that which is related to Shakuntala. So what is related to Shakuntala? The love story of Shakuntala. Shakuntala and Dushyanta fell in love with each other at the very first sight. And finally there was trials and tribulations, which is characteristic of Indian art of love, because after union comes separation, and after separation, through trials and tribulations, the lover and beloved are once again united, and with the ringing of the marriage bell. This is Indian tradition, and Kalidasa sticks to this Indian tradition through his development of the theme of love and marriage. As regards the title, as I've already told you, Abhijnana means special recognition, and Shakuntala, who was not recognized by her husband because of the curse given by another sage called Durvasa, was finally recognized. So the word Abhijnana has 2-fold meanings. because it points to the recognition of Shakuntala by Dushyanta in the court of Hastinapura. Number one, again, it also deals with the identity of Shakuntala, because Shakuntala, who fell in love with Dushyanta at the very first sight, is now not recognized in the court. See the humiliation. You can judge Abhijnana Shakuntalam from the standpoint of feminism, how the male world has authorized Shakuntala, how in the midst of courtiers in the court of Hastinapura, the king who married Shakuntala in the hermitage of her father, says Kanwa, in the absence of her father, according to Gandharva marriage, by offering flowers, garlands. This is Gandharva type of marriage. There are different types of marriages. And in the absence of the father, the king of Hastinapura married Shakuntala and then blissfully forgot her. And how can it be? Can any husband forget? Can any husband forget his wife? And that too a pregnant wife, because his son, Sarvadaman, who was called Bharat, was there in her womb. And that was a very, very delicate situation which has stunned feminists and critics of feminism to undermine Kalidasa's affection towards the seaside. Be what it may, you can also interpret Dushyanta Shakuntala or Abhijnana Shakuntalam in the light of feminism. And so far as the play is concerned, all these things happen because of the curse which was given to Shakuntala by the sage Durvasa. You remember, in our Indian tradition, there is a very, very hot-tempered, angry rishi, what you call sage, called Durvasa. And Durvasa gave him a curse, and that time will come when your husband will forget you, unless and until you produce an evidence, a token. The king will not recognize you. The king will recognize you only when you will produce a token. That was Durvasa's curse. And the ring episode, a short question is also asked about the significance of Durvasa's curse and ring episode in Abhijnana Shakuntalam. I hope you understand now about the title. The title is about the recognition of Shakuntala, and it is related to Shakuntala. That is why it is called Shakuntalam. That which is related to Shakuntala is called Shakuntalam, and Abhijnana means a special recognition which was not given by her husband under the trying circumstances and was finally given, and Shakuntala was finally united with Dushyanta after a long period of trials and tribulations and misery and suffering. And this is the whole story, and the title is therefore justified. And as Mr. Rangpur has told me, I would like to speak something keeping in view the demand of the students for their examination, because most of them are honor students, but my students are also there. So I am just trying to give something about keeping in my mind the demand of the examination. I hope you understand the title of the play. Now I come to the next important technical feature of a drama which was prevalent in classical India according to Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. I hope all of you have heard about this, like Aristotle's Poetics. In our classical Indian tradition, we had a sage called Bharata. You are getting another Bharata here, who wrote his dramaturgy, the book on the theories of drama under the title Natya Shastra. In Natya Shastra, we have references to the plot, we have references to characterization, we have references to the Sanskrit word prakarana, garbha, vastu. In Sanskrit, plot is called vastu, prakarana, charitra prakaranam. And among all the demands of the ancient classical dramaturgy, Kalidasa subscribes to most important technical thing in the beginning, which is called prologue, which is called Nandi Patha. In Sanskrit, you can write Nandipatha. Nandi Patha. In Sanskrit, it is called benedictory verse. Nandi Patha means benedictory verse, because Indian mind is essentially predominantly spiritual, and Kalidas is no exception, my dear students, because he truly subscribes to the demand of Indian psyche, because before writing this beautiful play, he wants to pray before his Ishta Devata, Lord Siva of Ujjaini. I don't know how many of you have come to Ujjaini, but I had been there to attend the World Vedic Seminar, in the place of Kalidasa, where the temple of Lord Siva stands and he's named there as Mahakaleshwar. And Kalidasa used to come to this temple of Mahakala to worship him, and in his plays and poetry, the sights and sounds and the weather and the climate of Ujjaini is very much reflected, depicted and articulated. And while staying in a guest house, I also remember, because it is the king's city is called Avanti Nagar. And interestingly, the guest house where I put up was named Avantika. A wonderful. I asked immediately the man in charge, the caretaker, why it is called Avantika. No, sir, it is just after the city of Vikramaditya, which was Avanti. And there was also the university. I went to that university. Be what it may, but remember, Ujjaini is famous for the great temple of Lord Siva called Mahakaleshwar. And Kalidasu was a devout devotee of Lord Siva, and he used to worship Mahakala. And rightly, he has started ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM by praying, invoking the blessings of Lord Siva. And while going to pray Lord Siva, he is invoking the 8-form manifestations of Lord Siva, which is called Ashtarudra. You can write in the bracket, Ashtarudra, Ashtarudra. Rudra means that who is furious, because Lord Siva is the manifestation of ferocity, because Brahma stands for creation, Vishnu stands for protection, not myself, Lord Vishnu, who is also my Ishtadevata, and Lord Siva, who is otherwise called Rudra, stands for destruction. So the whole process, cosmic process of creation, protection, preservation and destruction is regulated by Lord Brahma, who is the creator, Lord Vishnu, who is the preserver, and Lord Siva, who is the destroyer. But that is one manifestation of Lord Siva. But Lord Siva has another side also. On the one hand, he is Rudra, who stands for destruction of this universe at the time of Mahapralaya. And on the other hand, he is called Siva and Asutosha. Asutosha means the perhaps the only one God who is pleased automatically, very soon. Lord Vishnu is very, very cruel in that sense, because he is not pleased at all. He is very, very, he tries and tests his devotee. But Lord Siva is extremely pleased at within no time. That is why he is called Asutosha. Asu means soon. Tosha means santushta hua. So Lord Siva, why is called Asutosha? Because he is satisfied within no time. And that is the meaning of the word Siva also, with a different connotation. Siva means that which is beneficial. He is the greatest benefactor of mankind. You know how all the gods and goddesses, after the churning of the sea, took away all beautiful things. Lord Narayan took away Lakshmi, Indra took away Airavat, and so many people, so many gods and other angels took away everything. And lastly, when Shiva came, there was nothing, and the sea was churned again. Vasuki brushed out poison, and that enveloped the entire cosmos, and all the gods implored before Lord Shiva to save the world, and Shiva contracted the world of poison and kept it on his neck. That is why he is called Nilkantha. And that shows Lord Shiva, who could take poison and save the world. And it is in that sense that he is the greatest benefactor of mankind. Be what it may, the prologue in ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM starts with the poet's invocation to his adorable Lord, what you call in Sanskrit Ishtadevata. In Assamese also, in Bengali also, in Oriya also, in Hindi also, we call it Ishtadevata. And in English it is called the adorable Lord. And Kalidasa implores and prays to his adorable Lord Shiva, and invokes the 8 manifestations of Lord Shiva that are called Ashtarudra. What is Ashtarudra? They are, you can note down, I think it is there in the book also. Number 1, water, that comes first. Ja Srushti Srastu Radhya. This is the Sanskrit. I think you don't understand, so there is no point in reciting the Sanskrit sloka, though I can. So that is the first thing that the poet invokes water, which was created first. So water is one manifestation of Ashtarudras. Second is fire. Fire, you know, Lord Shiva has three eyes. Left eye is moon, right eye is sun, and the third eye between the two eyebrows is called fire. That is called Jnananetra, the creative fire. And that is also destructive fire. It is by exercising that fire that Lord Shiva destroyed god of love called Kamadeva. And so the second Ashtarudra is fire. The first Ashtarudra is water. The third Ashtarudra is, since in ancient time we had a kind of sacrificial fire into which a priest used to throw oblation and ghee. So the third Rudra is a priest, and the fourth Rudra is sun, because sun is also identified with Lord Shiva, because the other name of sun is Rudra, and that is in fact the name of Lord Shiva. So water, fire, priest, sun, moon, and you will be surprised to know in our Indian mythology, Lord Shiva is called to be the owner of moon in astrology. I know because I know astrology. They both sun and moon worship Lord Shiva, and sun and moon are called the devoted disciples of Lord Shiva, and rightly they are also part of Ashtarudra. So water, fire, priest, sun, moon, sky, ether, and then the earth, Prithvi, and then air. So that is prana, because Shiva is the controller of all the life forces, the prana, that breath, what you call elan vital, and these are the 8 things. I repeat again, dear students of honors and MA, these are the Ashtarudras. What are they? Water, fire, priest, sun, moon, sky, earth, and air. And with the combination, a beautiful combination of these 8 forms of manifestation of Lord Rudra, the poet calls upon his adorable Lord Rudra to bless the whole world and to bless him as a poet, as a dramatist, so that he will be able to complete the writing of ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM without any disturbance. And this is an epic convention. While teaching Paradise Lost, I have told you, my dear students, if some of you are there, I find some faces of my students. And if you exactly remember, when I was teaching you Paradise Lost, I have told you how in the very beginning of Paradise Lost, Homer was invoking the holy muse of the Greece, and he's also Christian also, to come to his help and to bless Milton, because he has taken up a gigantic task of writing a grand epic called Paradise Lost, and whose theme is universal. It is not the Greek epic dealing with war and fighting and the tussle between life and death. It is a moral theme, how Adam and Eve have fallen from the world of Eden Garden, from the innocent world of garden, and how it deals with the fate of mankind, Manav Jatir Itihas. And that way, the Paradise Lost was a different epic of universal magnitude, moral magnitude. But here, it is not an epic, but it is a drama. Even then, Kalidasa, being a sensitive Indian, was guided by spirituality and Indian demand for imploring the divine world to come to his help right from the beginning to the finish of the play. And therefore, he rightly implores or prays to the 8 manifestations of his adorable Lord Shiva. I hope you are now happy. There may be a question also, the significance of the prologue in the play. So Lord Shiva is now available to all devotees in these 8 forms, in the form of water, which was first thing created by Lord Brahma, and he is also visible in the form of fire. I have told you, because he has 3 eyes, and the fire is the third eye, moon is the first eye, sun is the second eye, right eye, and fire is in between the 2 eyebrows. And Lord Shiva is also visible through the sacrificial offerings of Havan, through a priest. There also Lord Shiva is visible. So Lord Shiva is also visible in the form of the Hota, I told you, the priest who has been entrusted with the task of performing Yajna. And Lord Shiva is also visible in the form of the moon and the sun, I have already told you, who determine the duration of day and night, the time, what you call it, they are the 2 determining factors of time, sun and moon. Sun determines day and moon determines night, and Lord Shiva is available also through them. And this is how Lord Shiva is also visible in the form of the sky. So the Lord Shiva is all pervading, all pervasive. So this is a vital message given in the prologue, that Lord Shiva, through his 8 form of manifestations called Ashtarudra, is available everywhere. In other words, Lord Shiva is immanent everywhere. Lord Shiva is all pervading, and in that sense he is Brahma, he is a cosmic soul, and we are all tiny souls. Lord Shiva is macrocosm, and we are all microcosm. So, and then he talks about the prana, this air that carries the sound, and that elan vital, and this is how Lord Shiva pervades and extends over the entire world, is visible in the form of earth, which is proclaimed the universal womb or seed of the whole world, Prakriti, Mula Prakriti, that is also Lord Shiva there, and Lord Shiva is also visible in the form of air, which fills all forms of life, and breath, prana, the soul force, with into all lives. This is a very philosophical benedictory verse, where Lord Shiva, through his manifestations, is representing the benevolent attitude towards life, towards the cosmos, and Shiva is therefore Shiva, who is called benevolent and beneficial. Kalidas has vindicated this point, that by invoking Lord Shiva, he is invoking such a benevolent God, who is all the time busy for the benefit of the people living in this world. So after the benediction is over, another technical side is coming, my dear students, the entrance of a Sutra Dhara. A short question may be asked, what is the role of a Sutra Dhara and his counterpart, Nati, Nati, Nati. So Sutra Dhara is the real medium between the play and the audience, because where there is a play, stage value must be there, because a play is meant for staging, a poetry is meant for reading. So the moment we talk about play, we are keeping in mind the negotiation between the dramatist, the actors on the stage, and the audience. This is a threefold dynamics of dramaturgy, where keeping that thing in mind, in his mind, Kalidasa, like the traditional dramatists, classical dramatists of India, introduced Sen the Sutradhar, who comes as the negotiator between the audience and the play. After the benediction was over, was sung, the Sutradhara is called the director. And in a modern sense, we call him the director of the play, director of the film, producer, director. You remember, actor, producer, director, script writer. You find many things in film. But in ancient time, there was a director and actors. This director was called Sutradhara. He enters after the benediction is over. He enters the stage, and he does not want to do any further delay. He calls the Nati, the actress. One actress comes. That is also part of the Indian dramatic tradition. A Nati comes with all dress as actress, and then the director asks the actress whether everything is prepared. All have been painted in the dressing room, and the painting part is over. So on getting this positive response from the Nati, Nati, Nati means the dancer, the actress, the director called Sutradhar, then addresses the audience. This is the most functional part of the Sutradhara, who is called the director. He addresses before the august gathering and tells them in nutshell the thematic core of the play, what the play is going to be staged about. It is more important, because the Sutradhara has a functional part to make the audience prepare to receive the story of the love and marriage and separation, the love and separation and marriage. 3 stages of development of the play. Shakuntala and Dushyanta fell in love at the very first sight. Then they were separated because of Durvasa's curse. And they were then finally reunited after the period of suffering is over. And by staging this thing, say the Sutradhara wants to make the audience mentally and psychologically prepared. This is the highest function of Sutradhara in the play. The director, whom you call Sutradhar, therefore calls upon the august audience to lend their patience, not to be disturbed, not to create chaos among the audience, because these dramas were placed in the open air theatre, no, and in the closed theatre also. Therefore, audience should enjoy the drama with all calm and peace, and while extending his best wishes and expecting good support and peace and tranquility, the Sutradhara winds up and then the drama proper starts. This is the technical thing I have told you. I started with the significance of the title, then I came to significance of the benediction, which is characteristic of epics like the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, and even Milton's Paradise Lost. I have already told you. So that tradition is also there in Indian dramatic tradition. Then we come to the Sutradhara, who is the real negotiator between the play and the audience. He calls upon the audience, the august gathering, because at that time Lord Vikramaditya was there, King Vikramaditya was there, and courtiers were enjoying Kalidasa's play. Kalidas was a respectable courtier, Navaratna, one of the Ratnas of the Navaratnas in Vikramaditya's court. Therefore, when a Navaratna is staging a play or his play is going to be staged, so the audience also include the courtiers of King Vikramaditya. Therefore, he supposing that the audience is elite audience, a very sensible audience, the Sutradhara calls upon them to enjoy the play right from the start to the finish, and to enjoy the various emotions, which is called rasa in Sanskrit aesthetics, because Kalidas was a master poet and dramatist of rasa, and in Sanskrit aesthetics we have in Bharata's Natya Shastra 8 rasas, later on it was 9, and it was taken up to 12 also. Anyway, it is now granted that there are 9 rasas, of which Kalidas was famous for the first rasa called romantic love, which is called Sringara, which is called Adi rasa. And in ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM, we have 2 powerful rasas, 3 powerful rasas. One is fear, Bhayanaka rasa, one is love, that is Sringara rasa, and one is Karuna rasa, that is separation and pity and fear, what Aristotle says, catharsis. And that is also there when Shakuntala was humiliated in the court of Dushyanta, and she came back disheartened, was sobbing and crying, and she did not come back to her father's house because she was already pregnant. She the Swabhiman of Shakuntala. So instead of coming back to Karna's hermitage, she went to the forest, and there in the ashram of another rishi called Maricha, Bharat was born, and then she the suffering. She, a very tender lady who was identified with nature, who is the product of nature, who was born in the lap of nature, who was reared in the lap of nature. Finally, she had to suffer, and that is the pathetic part of the story. Therefore, that is called Karuna rasa. So, how many rasas are there? 3 rasas in Shakuntala. We have Sringara rasa, which is manifested through the love of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. We have Karuna rasa, which is caused by suffering and separation between Dushyanta and Shakuntala. And then we have also Bhayanaka rasa, because such kind of sufferings can be there for a young, tender girl of nature's world. So this is called Bhayanaka rasa. So 3 rasas are working in tandem with in ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM. Now I am coming to the textual part, the play, the structure of the play, the plot and structure of the play centers around 7 acts. So we have in Shakespeare's play 5 acts, but Kalidas differs from Shakespeare, though he is called Shakespeare of India, but in his play, dramaturgy, he differs from Shakespeare, because instead of 5 acts, he has given 7 acts to the audience of India, classical India. And in Act 1, we are introduced to this love story of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. Before I go to the acts proper, I would like to speak a few words about Shakuntala also, because the very word Shakuntala, I hope you have known, all of you. If you don't know, learn from me. Shakuntala, the word Shakuntala is interpreted in 2 ways. In Sanskrit, it is called Kuntalena Saha Vartamana. That means one beautiful lady who had a beautiful lock of hair. Kuntala means, in Assamese, there was a student of mine, Kuntala Patwari. I still remember. She was coming to me for some tips. So Kuntala means one who has beautiful locks of hair. So Shakuntala, being the product of nature, had a beautiful lock of hair. This is one interpretation. Second interpretation, actually Shakuntala was not born to Rishi Kanwa. Shakuntala was born to sage Vishwamitra and the celestial nymph Menaka. The story in Mahabharata goes back to like this, because Vishwamitra was sitting in deep penance, and Lord Indra of heaven was terrified that Vishwamitra will take away his power. Indra is always power monger. He is a chicken-hearted fellow. He is always afraid of his throne. And he sent Menaka to disturb Vishwamitra in his penance and meditation so that Vishwamitra will not be able to occupy Indra's throne in heaven. So Menaka came with her paragon beauty and thence Menaka could disturb Vishwamitra in his penance, and Vishwamitra and Menaka fell in love with each other, and out of their union was born a beautiful creation which is called Shakuntala. And after Vishwamitra came to know that Menaka has been sent by Lord Indra to disturb his penance, Vishwamitra was angry and he left Menaka, and Vishwamitra went away. And after Vishwamitra went away, Menaka also went back to heaven. And you see the condition of the child. The child was lying in the forest, deserted and alone, separated from her father and mother. And in the meantime, nature came forward. This is the greatest lesson in Shakuntala, my dear students. Nature is the real actor. Nature is the real hero of the play. To my mind, Kalidasa has presented nature in such a way that as and when human world, innocent world of the child is disturbed by human world, nature comes forward to take full protection and sometimes takes revenge also. And this happens in Shakespeare's world. I have no time to tell you. This has happened in the Winter's Tale. When Winter's Tale is a beautiful play, dramatic romance of Shakespeare. In Winter's Tale, when the father of Pardita, I always compare in my MA class while teaching Shakuntala, I compare Shakuntala with Pardita, Perdita, the heroine of Winter's Tale, where Pardita's father suspected her to be a bastard child, therefore ordered one of his courtiers to take this small child and throw away into the desert or by the seaside. And that happened. The small Pardita, like say this Shakuntala, was just thrown away on the desert by the Bohemian seaside, but nature came forward immediately, took revenge, and dramatically one wolf came and tore that man who was sent by the king Lentes of Sicily, and the man was torn into pieces. This shows nature not only knows how to take care of the innocent, but also knows how to take revenge upon those people who try to exercise onslaught, who try to inflict suffering upon the world of nature. And this happens when Vishwamitra and Menaka left Shakuntala. Nature sent some vulture-like birds who unfurled their wings and protected Shakuntala some days, and this is called Shakunta. So, why she is called Shakuntala? Because she was well protected by the winged feathers of Shakunta. Shakunta means vulture-like bird. Some vultures protected this newborn Shakuntala from rain and cold and sunshine. And later on, Rishi Kanwa came to know about it, and she took the baby and reared the baby, and Shakuntala became Kanwa's daughter. This is the story of Shakuntala. Why she is called Shakuntala? Because she had beautiful hair, locks of hair, number one. Number two, why she is called Shakuntala? Because when her original father and mother left her in the lodge in the forest in a state of isolation and separation, nature came forward to protect Shakuntala, and the Shakuntas in form of this vulture-like species, they unfurled their wings, and through their shade, they protected this baby child for several days and nights, till Kanwa came and took her away and reared her. And just as Kanwa reared of Shakuntala, Pardita in Shakespeare's Winter's Tale was reared up immediately by a shepherd. The man who threw her away was torn into pieces by the wolf. This is nature's revenge. On the other hand, Pardita was also protected by nature. When a shepherd came to that desert by the side of the Bohemian Sea, and she picked up this Pardita and took back home, where the shepherd and the shepherdess, his wife, reared Pardita for 12 years. See the beautiful comparison. And if my students are there, if you are writing this thing in the examination, obviously draw reference to Shakuntala and try to compare Shakuntala with Pardita of Winter's Tale. So this is how the play begins with the summer season, my dear students. And in the summer season, Dushyanta, the king of Hastinapura. Why is called Dushyanta? Because he is the arch enemy of foes. Even when Lord Indra fails to defeat demons, no, he calls for the human help. And Dushyanta used to climb to heaven and to fight with demons, asuras, and to defeat them. He was a Chandravamshi king who belongs to the lunar dynasty. We have two Vamshas. Lord Ram belongs to solar dynasty, Surya Vangsha, and Dushyanta, the Mahabharata people, they belong to lunar dynasty. That is called Chandravamshi Raja. So this Chandravamshi king who belongs to the lunar dynasty was called for by Indra, and as and when it is required. So this Dushyanta, who is a formidable foe of his enemies, hence he is called Dushyanta. It was already summer season, and it is a part of the pastime of the kings of the ancient India to go for hunting, which is called Mrugaya. We call it Mrugaya Vihara, Mrugaya Vinoda. There is a pleasure in hunting. For them, sophisticated, luxurious kings and courtiers, hunting was taken as a pastime, which gives utilitarian pleasure, aesthetic pleasure as well. But in modern times, eco-critics do not encourage this, and Shakespeare has also discouraged this hunting and the hunters and poachers and in several plays. In Merry Wives of Windsor and As You Like It, Shakespeare has reprimanded the hunters and the poachers who kill innocent animals and birds. Be what it may, Dushyanta, it is summer season. Dushyanta, the king of Hastinapura, has come for hunting a deer, and in fact, he has already arrowed a deer, Krishna Sara, a dark spotted deer, who out of fear and fierce cry, a helpless, pitiless cry, the deer being arrowed by the king Dushyanta has entered the ashram, the hermitage of Kanwa, and when the inmates of the hermitage come to know about the pitiless cry of the deer who has been already arrowed, they prevented the king that the deer of ashram should not be killed. This is a brilliant lesson in eco-criticism, my dear friends, and sometimes in MA class, we also ask this question in final, that make an eco-critical reading of Kalidasa's ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM. Eco-criticism means study of literature in relation to ecosystem and ecology and environment. Remember these three words. Eco-criticism is study of a literary text in conjunction with environment, sound ecosystem, and ecology that deals with a balanced ecological condition of the biotic and abiotic elements. So simple definition is study of literature in conjunction with environment and ecology. So from that point of view, from the standpoint of ecology or eco-criticism, this ABHIJNANA SHAKUNTALAM can be also interpreted, because the king was advised by the ascetics of the hermitage of sage Kanwa, in the absence of Kanwa, that, O king, these deer are creations of nature, and moreover the deer has taken shelter in the ashram of sage Kanwa, and you have no right to kill a deer which has taken shelter in our ashram. See, wonderful. You can very well correlate and compare it with a similar situation As You Like It. I was citing the example of Shakuntala in comparison with Pardita. Now I come to cite an example of animal slaughter, how both Shakespeare and Kalidasa are against this, and the mouth of this ascetics of this says Kanwa, and it is a eco-critical message is given. The animals have also equal right to live in this world of nature, in this ecosystem. Human beings should not exercise their anthropocentric or egocentric ego to destroy the world of nature, beautiful world of nature and pastoral landscape. That is what is happening now. In the name of super highway, you have cut down countless trees and you are inviting the heat of sun. The more you cut down, Shakespeare was very much worried about this deforestation during Renaissance age. And a lot of critics have problematized this question critically. And you can also make an eco-critical reading of Shakespeare's Kalidasa, the very opening scene, where the ascetics of the hermitage of Kanwa have prevented the king And the king obliged. He did not kill the deer anymore, and he tended to hide himself behind the trees, shady trees of Assam, and from a little distance he saw the beauty of Shakuntala. Kalidas is at his best in describing the beauty of Shakuntala. Each and every part of Shakuntala's body has caught the attention of Kalidas. I have never seen such a wonderful poet all over the world. Even Shakespeare will be defeated in Kalidas's brilliant description, use of metaphors, symbols, and almost all the metaphors are drawn from the world of nature, knowing it fairly well that Shakuntala is not a human girl. Shakuntala is a divine nymph because she was born to Menaka and another divine sage. And from the very beginning, Kalidas has tried tenaciously to make Shakuntala as nature's Lucy. I can draw another comparison from Wordsworth's poem, Lucy poem. Just as Lucy was born in the lap of nature, reared in the lap of nature, taught by nature, and died in the lap of nature. And Wordsworth laments that Lucy was born in the lap of nature, who was reared, nourished in the lap of nature, finally died in the lap of nature. You can go to my YouTube songs. I have recited the song, Lucy poems, and some of my students have also enjoyed. So remember, Wordsworth is crying. Beautiful lines are there in Lucy poem. If you don't read Wordsworth's Lucy poem, you are not really a student of romantic poetry. No motion has she now. This is what Wordsworth laments. Lucy is dead. No motion has she now. Lucy does not talk. And the poet claims that Lucy is still alive. Lucy is not dead. This is the romantic poet's madness. Rolled round with arcs, diagonal course with rocks and stones and trees. With rocks and stones and trees. Wonderful Lucy poem. But कहने का मतलब यह है कि Lucy is the gift of nature. Like Lucy, Wordsworth's Lucy, the pure symbol of innocence, who has been fed with nature's water, nature's fruits, nature's training. Lucy's mind and heart and soul and moral being have been completely shaped and conditioned by nature. And such is the case with Shakuntala. Shakuntala was born in the forest, and though ironically her parents left her, she was finally fostered by Rishi Kanwa, and she was mixed up with the ascetics of ashram. She had two beautiful companions, friends, what you call Sakhi in Vaishnava literature. They are Priyambada and Anasuya, and there was also an elderly lady called Gautami. So Shakuntala grew from time to time under the direct and benign blessings of nature. Therefore, Shakuntala is like a creeper, and Kalidas has described Shakuntala in terms of many creepers, and one of the best creeper called jasmine, which is called in Sanskrit Banajosna. And Shakuntala goes to make a marriage between Banajosna and this mango tree. There are lots of definitions, lots of things. You go into the text, you see how nature has not become a passive force in Kalidas. This is the third question which comes now. Write a note on the treatment of nature in Kalidas. Nature is not a mere setting, lifeless, insipid setting in Kalidas. Nature is a living force. Nature is a human being. And with the help of pathetic fallacy and personification, the art of personification, it was done by John Keats, and like Shakespeare also, Kalidas, like Shakespeare, makes use of such powerful images and metaphors, and with the help of pathetic fallacy and personification, Kalidas has enlivened nature, not as a mere setting or background, but as a person. Nature is like a kind mother, nourishing Shakuntala. And all the creepers of Shakuntala's garden, flower trees and creepers and big trees, and they will, even the deer, small deer called Fun, they will only drink water from the hands of Shakuntala. Even after they came closer to each other, even these deer did not take water from Dushyanta, who was the king. That speaks volumes, that only nature will be satisfied from its own creation. Shakuntala did not take food without watering these plants and these flower gardens. And again, Shakuntala's flower garden can be beautifully compared with the flower garden of Pardita in Winter's Tale. You read Winter's Tale and you can do justice to Shakuntala, because there are a lot of similarities. And like Shakuntala, Pardita is a flower. Pardita stands for lily. Just as Rosalind stands for rose in As You Like It, and Shakuntala stands for jasmine. What do you call it, jasmine in Asmi? What is called jasmine? And Sanskrit it is called Banajosna. Jasmine flower. You find jasmine oil, no? What a wonderful scent. So Shakuntala is identified with jasmine, which is called Banajosna in Kalidasa's play. So nature is a partaker, an active partaker, an active actor who shares the sorrows and sufferings of Shakuntala. When Shakuntala was separated by Durvasa's curse from Dushyanta, the whole world of nature cried. And Shakuntala, when Shakuntala was given marriage in marriage and was sent to Dushmanta's place, the whole garden cried. This is what I mean by pathetic fallacy and personification. So behind the trees, Dushyanta was marking the beauty of Shakuntala. So each and every part of Shakuntala's body, beautiful body, was described with a classical jest and romantic jest, of course. And because Dushyanta is describing the beauty of Shakuntala and says, "Oh Shakuntala, with your natural dress of the skin of the tree, you look much more beautiful than those artificial women of our court who are gorgeously dressed." And then Kalidas gives a moral lesson that a beautiful figure can shine bright under any dress, whether it is natural dress or artificial dress, because natural beauty fits only into natural dress. So that is Kalidas's emphasis on naturalness, which is another lesson of eco-criticism, that in order to become natural, you must use natural food, natural dress, natural behavior. Everything is natural. That was the contribution of Rousseau. I am not going to make it critical again, because this is meant for honor students. Though some of my PG students are also there, I think some PG students from other departments might be there also, from other universities. So knowledge is knowledge, no, which has no limit. So if I hope you will not feel bored. So try to expand your horizon. That is naturally, it automatically comes to me. My students know when I start A, B, and C, and W, X, and Y, Z will come. So I don't know where from I start and where do I end up, but I think I am contextual. So this is how nature has not become a passive onlooker, as you find in the novels of Thomas Hardy. In the novels of Thomas Hardy, nature is a passive onlooker. In the poetry of Emily Dickinson, because I could not stop for that, nature is a passive onlooker. When the beloved was taken by death herself. Because, but in unlike these things, Kalidasa, like Shakespeare, took nature not a mere background or setting, but as a proud partaker and active actor, and sharing the sufferings of Shakuntala in her trials and tribulations. And then Dushyanta came closer to Shakuntala, and he was given hospitality, water, and they fell in love with each other at the very first sight. And in the absence of Karna, they garlanded each other, and finally they got married each other in terms of Gandharva marriage. And the king had already sent his soldiers to Hastinapura earlier, and then he stayed some days in the ashram of Karna. Finally, Karna started sending and she assured Shakuntala that she will be coming and taking Shakuntala as his queen with all pomp and royal luxury. Then the king departs. This is how you have in Act 1. This is a summer season. The king entered the Karna's hermitage, chased a deer, met Shakuntala, fell in love at the very first sight, and finally got married in terms of Gandharva marriage. And in the second act, king sends his army to Hastinapura and stays back in the Karna's ashram to protect the ashram from the onslaught of the demons. That was also a political situation, because in the jungles and the forests, demons were creating a lot of mischiefs, and the king was called for. And so the king stayed back to protect the ashram of says Karna from the demons, Daityas or Asuras. And this is Act 2. And in Act 3, we have Shakuntala's full love, romantic love with Dushyanta. And in Act 4, they were married with a Gandharva marriage that took place. And then the king takes leave to Hastinapura, as I told you. Meanwhile, the real tragedy comes. It is a tragic comedy. It is a pastoral comedy which verges upon tragic comedy. It started with a pastoral imagination, beautiful description of Karna's garden, and description of Shakuntala as nature's blessing. But then from Act 4, the tragedy peeps in because Durvasa came as the instigator of suffering. Because Shakuntala, after the departure of Dushyanta, Shakuntala was very much worried, and every time, day and night, she was thinking and brooding over Dushyanta because that was true love of this maiden in this world of nature. But one day it so happens that she was brooding over Dushyanta and thinking of Dushyanta, and meanwhile the hot-headed sage Durvasa came, and Shakuntala could not take proper care of him. Therefore, Durvasa gave him a curse. What is the curse? That the man whom you are thinking of and disrespected me by not showing me proper hospitality will forget you until you submit a token, so that he will recognize me. Oh, I forgot to tell you, before departing from the ashram, Dushyanta gave the signet ring, one ring, which is a part of Indian tradition. At the time of marriage we give when the marriage is fixed, and here at the time of Gandharva marriage, Dushyanta left a ring on the finger of Shakuntala, and Durvasa gave the curse and left away. And this is the tragic part which disturbs the beautiful pastoral romance of Abhijnana Shakuntalam. In Act 4, Durvasa's curse is connected with ring episode. These are two short questions that are asked in the examination also. Because ring plays a powerful part in the play, because the ring was also lost, the ring was given, the ring was lost, again it was found, and again by looking at the ring, the king could remember Shakuntala and they were united. So the ring episode plays a beautiful, powerful, structural connecting link between Dushyanta and Shakuntala. And this is true of Merchant of Venice also. You find in Merchant of Venice there is a ring episode, there is a casket episode, small episodes you find in exactly with all parallels in Shakespeare also. So with this, when Durvasa gave him a curse and she has become pregnant, Rishi Kanwa decided that he should send this married girl. How long he will keep her? So she should be sent with all dignity to the court of Dushyanta, the king of Hastinapura. And in Act 5, Shakuntala reaches the court of Dushyanta, and Durvasa's curse worked wonders, and Dushyanta, and she narrated before Dushyanta that I am your wife Shakuntala, you fell in love with me, you married me in terms of Gandharva marriage, and you have given a signet ring. Then he asked, what is the testimony that I have married you? And he said the ring, and in the meantime the ring was not there, because while coming from ashram, they crossed the river called Malini. There was a river by the side of the hermitage of Kanwa called Malini, and while taking birth in that river and crossing through the small boat, Shakuntala has lost the ring in the river. This is the irony and the element of chance in the play. Had there been no loss of the ring, the Abhijnana Shakuntalam would have been a pure pastoral romance, like Winter's Tale. But life is such, no, it is neither a pure tragedy nor a pure comedy. It is a wonderful admixture of the tragic and the comic. And what is true of Kalidas is also true of Shakespeare. And that is the reality, because Sukhad Anantaram Dukkham, Dukkhad Anantaram Sukham. After Sukha comes Dukkha, after Dukkha comes Sukha. This is the cyclic movement of life. This is the mystery of the universe. Sukhad Anantaram Dukkham, Dukkhad Anantaram Sukham, Chakravat Parivartante, Dukhanicha, Sukhanicha. Dukkhas and Sukhas move like the cyclic movement of this great wheel of time. And in that case, Kalidas and Shakespeare subscribe to this philosophy that life is both combination of the tragic and the comic. Therefore, Shakespeare wrote some plays under the category called tragicomedy, and the Merchant of Venice is one of them, where the Shylock episode stands for the tragic, and there's Lorenzo and Jessica romantic episode stand for the comic. And be what it may, that is also true of our Indian tradition, subscribing to our Indian spirituality and mentality, that we start with a tragedy and end up with a comedy. That happened in Shakuntala. But in Act 5, she was sent to the court of Dushyanta, but Dushyanta refused because Durvasa's curse worked, and Shakuntala could not produce the ring as the testimony. She was humiliated, and with pitiful cries, tears, bedewed with tears, her eyes bedewed with tears, Shakuntala left the court of Dushyanta heavy-hearted, and instead of going back to her father's hermitage, see the Swaviman of this character, what a wonderful character she is. She did not go back to her father's ashram. Instead of going back to her father's ashram, she went back to the forest. This is another point where Kalidas want to say that nature is the best teacher, nature is the best nourisher, because she was born in the lap of nature and she was nourished by the Shakuntal. Then she was nourished in the garden of Kanno. Again she is going to the forest. When the human world humiliated her, she decided that she would not go to human world anymore. She would be in the lap of nature. Shakuntala is therefore nature's Lucy. She is not a creeper, she is the creeper. I repeat, Shakuntala is not a creeper, Shakuntala is the creeper. So under the circumstances, in sixth act, the play progresses, the suspense is resolved because Shakuntala's identity is now at stake. I told you that contributes to the symbolic significance of the title, because her identity is threatened. That she is the wife of Dushyanta, that she fell in love with Dushyanta, that they got married in terms of Gandharva form of marriage. What is the evidence? Since she could not produce the evidence, she was heavy-hearted and cried and cried and cried, and nature witnessed her innocent suffering. That is the greatest beauty of the play Abhijnana Shakuntalam, where Shakuntala has become helpless from the human world. But she has not become helpless from the natural world. Nature is so kind, a benign mother, that at every time she is in distress, nature comes forward to lend her protective hands to Shakuntala. And on the other side of the picture, Shakuntala left the ring, and one fisherman got a fish which had already eaten up Shakuntala's ring, which was given to Shakuntala by Dushyanta with his signature, the king's signature. The fisherman finds a fish, and while cutting the fish, they found the ring at home with the signature of the king. He was afraid. The fisherman, out of fear, straightaway moved to the court and then presented this ring to the king. After having seen the ring, then Durvasa's curse melts away, as he earlier said. Once some testimony will be produced before the king, then his curse will be removed, wiped out. And Dushyanta went mad and become mad and went in search of Shakuntala. And meanwhile, Lord Indra called for Dushyanta to fight out the demons in heaven. Dushyanta went to heaven, defeated the Asuras, and then came back. On his way back, near the ashram of another Rishi called Maricha, his wife Aditi is also there. That is another story in Abhijnana Shakuntalam. Aditi and Maricha constitute another aspect of ascetic life. And there are slight differences between Kanwa's art of ascetic life and Marichi and Aditi, his wife Aditi's art of life. But we are told about the wife of Marichi, but we are not told about the wife of Kanwa. There is no wife of Kanwa. So there are radical differences. It requires some more lecture to discuss, and I have already completed 1 hour. I would like to wind up within 5 minutes. And then after this revelation, truth is revealed. This is a play of revelation. You can say Abhijnana Shakuntalam is also a play of revelation, because the truth was darkened under the veil of misconception or the mistaken identity. So identity was now gradually being revealed, and the Shakuntala will vindicate her identity. The king who humiliated Shakuntala now has gone mad, and he searches desperately. And like a true lover, he also sheds tears. Oh Shakuntala, where are you? You read the original text, then you will find the real beauty. And then we come to the last act, that is 7th act. In this act, as I told you, Dushyanta went to heaven at the call of Lord Indra, the ruler of heaven, and defeats the demons, and meets on his way, he meets a boy, and he finds the boy opening the mouth of a lion cub and pasting something between the two, and he was surprised. Then he asked him, "Who are you?" He says, "I am Bharat. I am the son of, my mother says, I am the son of Dushyanta." Then Dushyanta was very happy and to meet his family, his wife, Shakuntala, who was there in the ashram of Marichi. So Marichi and his wife Aditi gave very many lessons. This is the last part of the play. The play starts with a benediction. This is very important, my dear students. There is a beautiful structural unity. If a question is asked about the plot and structure of Abhijnana Shakuntalam, don't forget to mention this, because the play begins with a divinity, invocation to the 8 Ashtarudras, to the 8 manifestations of Lord Siva. And now the play comes to an end with several pieces of advice by Marichi. And when Shakuntala left Marichi's ashram, Marichi and his wife Aditi gave beautiful pieces of advice, as was given by Kannu also while departing from Kannu's ashram. I still remember that was a powerful 5 slokas are there. Tatra sloka chatustam. And Goethe, the great German poet, says Shakuntala is a great play because of the 4th anka, 4th act, and the 4 slokas, the 4 beautiful sermons that was given by her father Rishi Kanwa, which is universally applicable to all fathers in India, and for that matter all fathers all over the world, how they advise their daughter to accommodate themselves in the house of their husband. And sloka chatushtayam, the 4 slokas which Kanwa has delivered to Shakuntala at the time of departure are very, very morally, spiritually significant from the standpoint of Indian consciousness. And similarly, the advice of Marichi and Aditi to Shakuntala and Dushyanta while they left after being united is also significant. You read those things and write, and on the whole, that Kalidas was not only a poet of love and poet of nature, and he was also a great poet of Indian religious consciousness, and who believed in the moral order of the universe. Now the question is, why Shakuntala suffered? Because Shakuntala suffered because of our Indian belief in the law of karma. Jat karma krutam, tat karma bhuktam. This is Upanishad, where you find our happiness and sorrow on this earth is determined by our action in the earlier birth. This is called Purva Janma, Prarabdha, Sanchita, and Vartamana. There are 3 stages in life: what we did in the last birth, what we are doing in this birth, and how by doing good actions we are saving our future. This is how human beings are guided by the law of karma. And this is the belief, the Indian belief, established belief, which Kalidas has incorporated into the framework of Abhijnana Shakuntalam. And finally, Dushyanta and Shakuntala were united, and their marriage bell rang again. The play started with a romance, underwent tragic separation and suffering, and finally had a comic union. In that sense, it is a pastoral romance verging into tragedy and finally coming back to the lap of comedy. So on the whole, Abhijnana Shakuntalam is a tragic comedy where true love culminates in marriage for suffering. It is also a brilliant study in nature. Therefore, critics have come forward to analyze it in terms of eco-criticism, where love for animals, birds, plants, trees, flowers is there, and where there is a close communion between man and nature. And Shakuntala is the best example. Shakuntala was saved by Shakuntas. She was nourished by Kanwa. She was again nourished in the forest by nature, and again came Marichi and Aditi to her help at every stage. And in another version, it is said her mother Menaka came to took her heaven. There are 2 versions of the story of Shakuntala, my dear students. I have no time to wind up in one class. One class is not sufficient. I usually take 5 classes. While teaching it to MA students, I take 5 classes to discuss 5 questions. So, but I will just take 2 minutes, though 5-10 minutes have gone. So here you take the point very seriously, that it is such a powerfully executed play where Indian sensibility, Indian spiritual thought, Indian morality have everything been embedded, brilliantly articulated. And as I told you, there are 2 versions of Shakuntala. The first name of Shakuntala appears in the Vedic text called Satapatha Brahmana. Shakuntala has been repeated. The word Shakuntala has been found not less than 8-10 times in the Vedic text called Satapatha Brahmana. Then we come to the Mahabharata. The main story has come from Mahabharata, the dynasty of Bharat, after which our name of our country is Bharatvarsha. But the basic difference between Kalidasa's portrayal of Shakuntala and Mahabharata's Vyasa's portrayal of Shakuntala in the Mahabharata is this. After telling this thing, I will wind up. What is that? In Kalidasa's play, Kalidasa has made things more human and dramatic because he is writing a drama. Vyasa was writing a grand, gigantic epic. So what is the difference? Kalidasa has introduced this signet ring episode. This ring episode and this Menaka episode, Kalidasa has introduced, which is not there in the original Mahabharata. The ring episode is not there in the original Mahabharata. And Durvasa's curse is also not there in original Mahabharata. I hope all the participants understand this point very clearly and very cautiously. And when you write about the structure, you mention these things, that Kalidas is such an original dramatist and poet that he wanted to make the whole situation dramatic by introducing these small episodes. One is ring episode and the other one is Durvasa's curse, which are not available in the original Mahabharata written by Vyasa. And with these few words, I thank you all the listeners and students and colleagues and friends for lending your patient ear to my, what should I say, Guruvani. And I thank Mr. Mangal Singh Angpar and the head of the department, Mrs. Datta, and my young friends of the department. And thank you so much. And have a good night. Bye. Over to Mangal.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, sir, for this enlightening speech. And before we wind up, I would also seek your permission if you would like to take up the question and answer session, sir.
Yes, most welcome.
So then the sir have agreed to this question and answer session. So please, any students or any participants, if any one of you have any queries regarding whatever sir have delivered a lecture just now, you are most welcome. You may ask either in Assamese or English.
In Hindi also?
Yeah, in Hindi also, sir says.
In so Sanskrit also?
Yes, if so.
Ask, don't fear. I am your teacher's teacher. I am like Bhishma Pitama. I am here, don't fear. Yes, one question is there from one Madhurika. It is not, your spelling is wrong. This is Sakunta, Sakunta. I hope Madhurika you are getting it. This is Sakunta, Talabesa, Sakunta. Sakunta means a kind of vulture-like bird who unfolds their big wings to protect the baby child Shakuntala. It's called Sakunta. Hope you got my point, Madhurika. Thank you. Why do you call sorry, sir? Where is human? We are all human beings. Any other question? Come. I am very happy. I am a dangerous seminarian. I like questions. Come on with questions. You will not get this kind of moment in life again. And this is called Guruvani, no? Or if you are afraid to ask questions, you can write down in your question box. I think there is none. My students can ask.
So I think they're clear about whatever sir have just delivered, I think. Okay,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is one more.
One more question is there. One more question is there. Who
Okay.
coined Kalidasa's Shakespeare? It is Sir William Jones. A very good question. Sir William Jones, who translated Shakuntala, and finally in 18th century, later 18th century, early 19th century, after the translation of Shakuntala, it went to the West, and Sir William Jones was the first man to bring a beautiful comparison between Kalidas and Shakuntala. Yes. Any more question?
I think that's all for today, I think, sir. So then now
Yeah.
next we will head to this the last part, that is a word of thanks. So I would like to invite uh, oh, still Shyamal Pathak is still writing, so we could wait for her, I think, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there is already one question coming in, sir. Afsana Setasali. She says, sir, what are the comic elements in the play?
Yeah, there is a court jester. We call it Vidusaka. Vidusaka constitutes the comic part of the play, and in this play there is a Vidusaka called Madhavya, the court jester. And in Sanskrit drama, this comic part is always taken by a Vidusaka whose very physical features, dress, and to have a flower fitted into the long hair, and the moment he comes by toying his hair, the audience are moved to laughter. And in course of his journey with the king, the Vidusaka also cracks jokes with the king, and Vidusaka is called the source of wit and humor in the play, and this strongly reminds of me of Shakespeare's fools. As you find fools in King Lear, you find in Shakespeare's play there are witty people like fools. So, like a fool who is the embodiment of wit and humor, in Sanskrit drama we have a Vidusaka who cracks jokes, who also sometimes speak ironically, find fault with the king, and sometimes say it is very scorching rays of the sun. O king, don't enter now. Let us take rest. So that way, the Vidusaka is also an advisor instead of a giver of comic pleasure. I hope you understand. And somebody is asking about this. What is that? Can anyone think? Oh yes, this Ashtarudras. Yes, you write again. The Ashtarudras are number 1, water, number 2, fire, number 3, priest, one who offers ghee into the fire. Water, fire, priest, sun, moon, sky, earth, and air. Should I repeat again? Water, fire, priest, sun, moon, sky, earth, and air. These are the 8 manifestations of Lord Shiva called Ashtarudra. Nandi Patha means benedictory verse. I told you, Lakshmi Thapa, Nandi Patha means benedictory verse, as that benedictory verse consists of the prayer to Lord Shiva and to the 8 manifestations of Lord Shiva called Ashtarudra. And someone is talking about this Mahabharata episode. I've already told you it is not there in the Mahabharata, but that is the originality of Kalidas, who has introduced the Durvasa's curse and the ring episode just to make the drama more lively and more pathetic. Had there been no Durvasa's curse and no ring episode, there would have been no pathetic scenes at all, and it would have been pure comedy and pure romance. Hence, it is Kalidasa's own originality. It is not necessary always that you are not writing an answer in mathematics. Literature is not mathematics that you must write 2 + 2 = 4. This is literary representation of a story, and the dramatist has every right to twist it and to add some new things, as was done by Shakespeare also. I hope you are satisfied. So many questions are coming, one after another. Very nice. Okay, any more questions?
Oh, sir, there is a question by Pratishi Bodolo where she is asking, sir, what do you think about the curse episode? Is it just a curtain to the injustices that happens, that is being done to Shakuntala in a patriarchal society? That is what she is asking.
Yes, that is what I told in the beginning, no? That is what I told in the beginning, that you can also judge Abhijnana Shakuntalam in the light of feminism. That was the imposition of patriarchy, which has been there in Simon D. Weaver's book, The Second Sex. How do we authorize? You can go for a post-colonial study, a feminist study of Shakuntala, but then finally her identity was recognized, as the very title says. Her identity was recognized. Abhijnana means Shakuntala was truly recognized, was specially recognized, because Dushmanta went mad after her after getting back the ring. That way, Shakuntala had an upper hand. At the end of the day, Shakuntala had an upper hand, though she was humiliated in the beginning. I hope you are satisfied.
I think that's all for today, I think, sir. So then we will next head to the concluding part of our session, that is vote of thanks. So I would like to hand over to our Dr. Diphu Borbora.
Honorable HOD of our department, Dr. Borbora, our most valued invited speaker, Professor B.C. Das, sir, my dear colleagues present here, and my dear participants, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this auspicious occasion, the second lecture of Guruvani series on 3rd October 2021. I, on behalf of my department, offer my gratitude to Professor B.C. Das for his deeply thought-provoking, in-depth and insightful lecture on Abhijnana Shakuntalam. Thank you, sir, for taking out your time from your busy schedule and illuminating us with your profound knowledge on the subject. I would also like to thank our head of the department, Dr. Diphu Borbora, for offering all possible help to organize this lecture series. A big thank you to the students of Professor B.C. Das, sir, who enthusiastically joined this platform and made the event a great success. Also, participants from the host institution and other colleges listened very attentively to sir's deliberation from the beginning to the end of this lecture. I profoundly thank them for their valuable presence today. Thank you very much. With this, I end my vote of thanks over to our moderator, Mr. Mongol Singh Rongpar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So that's all for today. And we will meet in the next session, that is a 3rd Guruvani lecture. We will notify you the date, and we hope that we will meet again. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, and have a nice evening.